Hi, everyone. Why am I always so loud on a microphone? So thank you all for being here. I'll stand up. I'm really happy. You know, we were just talking about something in the air this year here that it seems like people are coming out again because it's getting more active, like a show like this, and maybe there's a sense of people wanting to come together. Hopefully, you know, moving forward, because we all know now what it's like to work more alone and to communicate with electronic methods and Zoom and all that sort of thing. So now we can do both again. That would be nice. So this is a time to come together. Come in closer would be nice, because I kind of lost my voice yesterday. That's great. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And so, no, it isn't. Actually, I didn't mean it that way. That's funny. I just want to know that they're doing a good job. So I'm here for you guys today, and I want to make it this ARP 2600 available to everybody that maybe if you haven't had a chance to play one or you want to do something with me, I can help you discover something or talk or answer any questions. I could do something too. So that's why I'm here. And I could start that way. Anybody have any requests, or would you like to come up? Oh, I want to also tell you, I'm going to sign this ARP 2600M that was very graciously donated by Korg to help the ARP Foundation. And the ARP Foundation is an extremely good cause. It started with Alan R. Perlman. He created these instruments out of love for music and for musicians and for his own passion, which was to create something, to design something. And he designed something that's lasted all the way, you know, and it's been on so many great pieces of music. Lots of different styles, too. A lot of musicians from different styles have gravitated towards ARP synthesizers. And all the way to now, being able to make an affordable version available to people so they can program the same thing. It's the same in terms of the routing on here, with very few exceptions. I have to move your dad. So there's a few extra options here. You can play 2 notes on this one at once. On this original one, you can only play 1 note at a time. And other than that, this one has the ability to put one thing in here and make 3 more of them. It's called a multiple. This one doesn't. But it gives you something else. You can play 2 voices. So other than that, really, and the reverb is really good on this. It sounds better to me in some ways. But I like the old one, too, because I'm used to it. So has anyone here never touched one of these things? Have you all played one? You all own one?
I played the reissue. It switched on in Austin, but I haven't played an original.
Would you like to play the original? So you know what you're doing. Let's hear for Shane. I mean, he's the brave one, right?
I have no idea what I'm doing, honestly.
Well, I can help you through anything. Like, what do you want to do? Let's get the crowd involved in this.
Oh, man. A nice, lead sound?
He wants to make a lead sound.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's sit down. Go sit down. There's some delay on here. That always helps. Okay, so what's the first thing we're hearing now? That's not right for a lead sound. Or are you there? Do you love this sound just how it is?
No,
Are you buying or selling?
I'm selling.
He's selling. Okay, so what would you change to get a better lead sound on a synthesizer? Right now it's like, I'm hearing it. Do I want to hear it when he's playing? He's not even playing. So I'm going to take this sound that's going from oscillators to filter, and so that the filter's not leaking through, I'm going to put it into a VCA. So now the sound will be cleaner, like gating it, right? So it doesn't sound when he's playing it. So now what would you like to change for a lead sound?
A little bit more gritty.
Gritty. Okay, that's right up my alley. So, have you guys ever heard of a guitar amp? Okay. I like guitar amps. I don't have a guitar amp here, but I have a preamp. So, I'm going to think of it like a guitar amp. Because guitar amps make things gritty. That's what Shane wanted. So, Shane, put a patch cord into the filter output. I know this is like basic stuff, but you can just use this way of thinking and make things. Into the preamp, let's find the preamp, right? We look for the boxes on here. and they have names, and they tell you what it is. So it's not as confusing if you actually look at it. Because when you look at the whole thing, it's hard to absorb the little things, right? So if you go into it, start from left to right and just...
That's the insert point, right?
Yeah, he just found the input. So preamplifier, input. So then, most logical thing would be another chord into the...
Let's see. The oscillator? Oh, let's see. The output?
Yeah, trust what you're reading. Sometimes we don't. Output. So now, instead of this filter going into the VCA, we want to go from the filter into this VCA directly in this one. Yeah, right there. So what I've done is I've got the dry signal in the VCA here, and now, what did we call it? The distorted one. Listen to that. Gritty, the gritty. It's a lot more gritty, right? Right? But then I kept the straight one. So now, Shane, you're allowed to balance them here. It's called a mixer, right? So you can balance now between the straight signal and the distorted signal. You get it just right. Right? And now maybe a little reverb, a little delay. Oh, we've got a big problem here. Let's see if we can fix this. I fixed it yesterday by hitting it. So Ryan, are you around? Because you're going to end up watching me hit it. Getting better, getting nastier. You like it? Nasty. Try it. It's changed. Has it gotten better? Is Shane making it better? What about vibrato, Shane? Right here. Just give it some gas. Yeah. So play a line and then give it some vibrato. What's happening? I must be stepping on the cable. Try it again. All right. And then a little portamento. Portamento so we can slide from pitch to pitch. Let's turn it on. And then you can control the amount here. So play some high notes. And then some low notes. Sliding around. There you go. All right, Shane. All right. So Shane's sound, his gritty lead sound. Give it up for Shane. So I'll give this one a whirl. Give me a shot at it. I'm going to see what I could do with Shane's sound. All right. So just a little bit of... Whoa, I'm back. That was a little bit of crazy impromptu messing around. Did have a few problems, and I want to point that out because that happens on vintage synthesizers. So, like, one of the important knobs is the envelope going to the filter, so I couldn't do anything there. I'm not sure what was going on there, but it just wasn't sending anything. But we don't have to worry about it. I'm going to just keep working around it. But I want to just show you, I just had to just go somewhere, so I'm glad you liked it. Let's take someone else up. Does anyone have experience on an ARP 2600? You're shaking your head back there. Yeah? You do? Yeah. Come on. They'll clap for you. Yeah. Look, they all wish they were doing this. So you're very brave to do it. There's nothing wrong that can happen. What's your name?
Han.
Han? Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from San Diego.
All the way from San Diego.
Not so far though.
It's not too far, okay. Let's get you started. Well, you know what you're doing, so there's the patch chords. Let's see what Han can come up with. We'll give you 1 minute. Hans, you can take us.
I don't. Oh, okay.
We'll give you a little bit of time. We'll give you a little bit of time. What are you going to make for us today?
I just want to use this VCOs basically and maybe some ring modulators.
Some ring modulators.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So she wants to mess around with the ring modulator. Does anyone know what a ring modulator is? Right? It takes how many signals to work? 2. Yeah. And it will create the sum and difference of those 2 signals when it's AC coupled. When it's DC coupled, you could use it as a VCA, which is kind of handy if you want to use it as a second VCA, maybe to get delayed vibrato or something like that. Okay, Han, what's up?
Are you already patching a feedback?
You want to hear something? So we can open the filter and hear it. So now you got some oscillators going there. And the ring modulator's right here, if you want to hear just that. And you have that in low frequency, so there you go. Okay. All right, you sound like you know what you're doing. Let's see what she comes up with. You can't really break anything on an ARP 2600, so it's fun out of the box to just mess around with it and just make sure to record it. You can't save the sound. But I love that you can't save a sound on an ARP 2600. Who here saves sounds? How do you, half and half, how do you save sounds?
With a hardware synth or with a like software synth?
On any synth, whatever you're using, how do you like to save sounds?
On my computer.
You save them on your computer, and then the software synths will come back exactly the same.
Yeah.
And do you like the repeatability of that? Do you like to be able to come back? Do you change the sound and then save another version of it, maybe? Small tweaks, okay. Do you save sound?
Yeah. On my Nord.
On your Nord, you like to do that?
If I'm making like a lead sound or a brass sound or something that I need, then I will save it.
Yeah, I mean, for live performing, I pretty much like to come back to the exact sound that I want. And then when you're in the studio, I just save sounds by recording it.
I would like to sketch it out, like when I get one of these, and then draw like all my patch points to save it and all.
Oh, on a like a facsimile, like a patch sheet, right? To look. I do have a book, and there's a great book made by, I don't know if you guys should reissue that thing with the patches. The ARP 2600 has a patch book of 50 patches, and if you learned every one of those patches, you would be really close to being able to make any sound that's in your head on, I would say, almost any modular synthesizer. So maybe ARP should make this available. Oh, you have something to say?
We're actually going to be doing a video version of the patch book. We already have the first 25 patches done. We're going to have memberships, and if you join the membership, you'll be able to get all of these patches in video form.
So I was pre-selling the patch book before I even knew it existed, and I'm really quite serious about it. Like I don't want to say this too much, it will sound fake, but a lot of what I learned that I was able to apply to movies, records, all sorts of things was from this patch book, because it covers all kinds of really useful ways of routing things that you can apply to any synthesizer. Minimoog, ARP, of course, 2600, but any plugin, because everything's modular. I mean, there's a lot of people making big distinctions between modular, semi-modular, Euro-rack, digital, whatever. But in my world, there's pedals. It's all like, what do I want to do to change the sound? And I look at sound in 4 basic ways, keeping it really simple. Pitch, oscillators, timbre, filters, duration, envelope generators, and volume, amplifiers. So any sound that I hear, I break it down in my head. Pitch. Okay, well, what kind of pitches are there? High pitches, medium pitches that are like, that like voice range and stuff like that, instrument range, and low frequency. So I hear a sound. What's the first thing I hear? I don't hear anything. You can keep going. I'm stalling for you. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 more minutes. Whatever you do, Han, is going to be great. And then when it comes to timbre, I'm going to listen to, well, is it a bright sound? It's as simple as that. Or is it a dull sound? So I get it close by just answering these like basic dumb questions. Is it long or short? Does it sustain? Does it ring after I pick up my finger, right? And then, is it loud or soft? And it's important to know if it's loud or soft because there's psychoacoustics that are going on, right? If there's soft sounds, sometimes, the bass will come through more or the high sounds will come through more. So I break it down, and once I have like a rough version of that, well, even before that, I'll just make it without even listening. Just get it close, right? And then listen, edit it, do it again. Before you know it, you guys, you're doing it. So don't be scared. Do that a couple of times. Go through patch books and then practice it. Like when you find a sound that you like, mess it up. Like I asked you if you saved sounds. Well, that's fine, but then don't save sounds too. Think of that as something to actually do. Like, I'm not going to save this. I'm going to wreck it and then make it again and try to make it as the same way you just heard it. Because that's helpful because, like sometimes you really nail it and then the next day it's not the same. Well, you might be able to know what's different. Okay, Han, let's see.
Oh, I'm just messing around with this because there was already a lot of some cables on it. So I just what I attempted to do, but it seems like it didn't success. Like I tried to modulate these two together and then put this one with the output of VCO1 together. So it's like this one and this two and this one is doing remote.
Okay, so I see something here that if this fader's up, you're going to hear a lot more of what's going on, right? And so let's hear that ring modulator. That's just your ring modulator. And then you can change pitches on it. So you have something going on. You just one fader away, right? So okay. I want to point something out that's really important. Very good job coming up here and just free designing because you'll come up with something. And this is really important. Like you make a sound and you're going like, nothing's happening. I don't hear anything. How many times does that happen? Like it happens to me all the time. So I trace it backwards. You have to trace it backwards. So start with, here's the output, okay? Then the next thing in the chain backwards is the mixer, and then the VCA. So if I didn't have, I'm going through the VCA, if I didn't have this fader up, then nothing would be coming out, no matter what I did over here with the pitch and the timbre and the duration, because I can't hear it. So these are some basic tips, like for troubleshooting. Work backwards, and some basic tips for making sounds. Does anybody remember what I said? I forgot. What are like the 4 things that I said about sound?
Pitch, duration, timbre.
Okay, getting one of them is good, because if you go home with one new thing, if I learned one new thing a day, That's 365 things a year. I'm smoking.
Pitch, duration, timbre, volume.
Pitch, timbre, duration, and volume. Can he win the synth on that? That's great. Most people don't remember when you have a conversation, so I don't expect everyone to remember everything. But yeah, that's it. And I put it in a certain order for a certain reason. Pitch, timbre, duration, and amplitude. Only because these classic synthesizers, maybe not always for the better, right, Tim? They force you into this signal path. And newer synths now don't. Like a Mini Moog, you can't patch. And you kind of always have to go from oscillator to filter, right? You guys have seen Mini Moogs, right? You always have to do that. So a lot of times, Mini Moogs can kind of sound all good sounds of the same kind of sound, right? The ARP 2600, being quote-unquote semi-modular, allows you to kind of do things wrong, not necessarily in that order. I bring it up because do that. Play around with doing things differently. So when I hear sounds in the real world, I always stick with that order because it keeps it like in a convention for me, so I can just go there and I get it. But then once I get it, I start flipping it around, do something different. And sometimes you only have to do one little thing different, and then the sound is entirely different. So you don't really have to do a big thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me. I thought that was fantastic that you came up here and just let loose. Thank you, Han. I'll never forget you. Can I answer any questions, or does anybody else want to come up? Or, I'm here for questions. I get a lot of people asking me questions on the YouTube channel, and we don't always get around to answering all of them. So if there's any questions, I'm here. But if not, we can take another person up. Or what would you like to see?
What's your favorite patch, and can you make it for us right now?
My single favorite patch. I don't even know what my single favorite patch is. My single favorite patch is wherever I am, whatever I have to do that's going to be meaningful. Let me see what I could get it to do. What? A theremin. Does everyone know what a theremin is? Okay. So let's do that using those things that I just said. Pitch, timbre, duration. So what's a theremin, everybody? Is it low? No. Is it medium? Wow. It's high. One person knows. Okay. So it's high. So I'm going to start with an oscillator that's high. So with this type of synthesis, you get to pick between 4 waveforms. So your life is easy, right? You don't have to create wavetables. What would you guess a theremin would be? And like I said, I just guess. If I don't know, I would guess. Is it a sawtooth? Is it bright? Is it square? Is it like hooty? Is it pure like a sine wave, or is it like a sine wave with a little bit of harmonics? What do we want to start with? Come on. Sine, okay, that sounds good. Sine wave it is. Sine wave into the filter. High frequency. So I'm going to put it up 2 octaves, right? It's going to play up high. I'm going to play up there. Okay, great. So there you go. I'm done, right? Okay, so like I said, I got it close, but it sucks. And then I have brightness, but like filtering a sine wave is not really that valuable because it's just going to still sound like a sine wave because it's a low-pass filter. So I'm going to give it some controllability. So timbre is just going to be basically a sine wave. I'm not going to have to do much with the filter, so I could leave it open. And then it's going to go into the VCA. And then duration is going to be sustained and maybe a little bit of slow attack. See how it kind of comes in? It's kind of getting there, right? Didn't take me that long, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So now what's missing?
Vibrato.
Vibrato. Okay, so I'm going to let it just ring, and I'll put some vibrato. So now with vibrato, that's just frequency modulation. So I'm modulating that oscillator, right, that sine wave, at a given amount and at a given speed, right? So I want to be maybe 5 a second, less amount, about there. Getting closer, right? Okay, so maybe now I want it to be a little more expressive because it's kind of duddy. So I'm going to try another envelope that's going to control the filter. That's going to have a really slow attack and a really slow decay. So the filter's just going to get brighter as I play and just kind of move around a little bit. So let's hear what that sounds like. Getting closer. Now I want to try a little brighter waveform, but not a lot brighter. So I'm going to switch it from sine to triangle. See what that, maybe that gives it a little bit more personality. And I feel like it's a little low still, so I'm going to bring it up an octave. Theremin. But I want really care more that you see how I got there. Because watching me make a theremin, not going to do you that much good. You know, I saw some guy make a theremin. But now I want you to be able to know how to make it, right? So start with a pure waveform. You guys are great. Sine wave works fine. I just gave you a difference, you know, I let you hear the difference between a little more pure theremin and one with a little more personality with some harmonics, some vibrato. That's another pitch-related thing. You don't have to worry about the filter, but then I went into the filter and I let it move. Since I have a triangle, it allows me to be a little bit sine wave and then get brighter and go into triangle territory, and then it closes back down into sine wave territory, right? And then I use a VCA, so it's not blasting all the time. And I put a really slow attack. Because like a theremin, you're like moving your hand on it, so I'm trying to simulate the idea of like sound coming in and going away type of thing. And I gave it a little release time, so it doesn't sound too electronic, you know, and it releases. And then I put some reverb on it. So it gives it a little more mysterious feel. And I could have put some delay on there too, you know. Let's see what that sounds like. And less release. And I'll take the delay down. I have a little, so let's do more. Come on up, Tim. When you speak up, you get up. Tim is over at C15. It's an amazing instrument, and it does things differently. So I think it's worth a look, right? It's an incredible instrument. It has a really expressive keyboard. And it is down at the end over there. So we met, and he spoke up, so now he has to get up. Let's put some portamento on there. So it looks like he knows where to go. First,
I saw you do it before.
he was watching. That's always helpful. But also, if you were thinking, where's portamento? Well, probably on the keyboard. It might not be, but it's a good, like, think the simplest thing.
What if you don't have a...
If you're playing a 26 without a keyboard, prayers. Yes, you can. He's right. He knows this because he's watched me a few times. So you would take keyboard control voltage, right, and run it through the lag. And if you lag keyboard control voltage, then it's sloppy. Going from note to note, it's just going to take more time, and that's like fake out. So you got it, Tim? What else do you want to change? Make it better.
Well, then it might leave the theremin kind of...
Well, what if you made a theremin? Okay, let's get into the realm now of creativity. A theremin string. So it doesn't exist. You get to create it. What's the simplest thing you could do? Just do try to do one or two things to change it from a theremin to a stringy sound.
Maybe I would go to some kind of a sawtooth.
Perfect. Perfect. So here's our oscillator, and you get choices. So Tim's going to switch it to a sawtooth, and now play it. Awesome. Now it cuts more. So if like you're in a band, you can be heard. Like when I played synthesizers in a band, forget about sine waves unless you're really low. Then you're good. You can compete with the bass player. But other than that, if you're getting up high, you need to use wide open sawtooths. And if you ever remember Keith Emerson, it was like all about wide open sawtooths, right? Just put a few of them in there and you get this ripping sound and you can cut through. Awesome, Tim.
Thank you.
He knew right where to go. To the keyboard for Portamento. Does anybody else want to come up? It's not that bad coming up. No. Come on up. All right. Camillo.
How you doing, bro?
Good. We met yesterday. He's coming up. What would you like to do?
High tone sounds.
High tone. What kind of high tone? So we got a high tone sound now. Oh, a pluck. Okay. Like we're going to try to do the quickest thing to turn this into a pluck. So where would we go? The oscillator, the filter, the envelope generator, or the VCA? Right. I know I'm asking dumb questions, but sometimes, like, I'll say this and somebody will be all over the place. So if we're changing it into a pluck, you only have to go to one spot. Right in there. This is the envelope section. So we don't need to look anywhere else. So what's going on with the envelope? We're using this envelope generator right now. Look at the attack.
What?
What do you see on the attack? Where's this fader?
Oh, it's all the way up.
It's kind of high up, right? So it's going to be a slow attack. So why don't you drop that down, Camillo? Drop it down. All the way down. Yeah, all the way down. Okay, now play a note. Okay, let's get rid of the delay. So watch. See, it's tight now. So we made some progress. So we're going to switch it from this AR envelope generator, which only has attack and release capability, to one that has attack, decay, sustain, and release. So play with that and see what you got for a pluck. There you go. Now raise up the decay time. So where are the envelope generators, Camillo? Where are they? Yeah. Perfect. Play around with it now. Play some notes. You're playing notes, right? There you go. Oh, well, there's some problems. Let's see if we can solve that problem right now. There you go. Now make it short. Make it really short. What do you think, Camillo? Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
He quickly took that theremin string, we shortened the decay time, and then it was like, one little thing, a little delay. So what does that tell you? This is an important thing. You don't necessarily have to have the best sound in the world to end up with a great sound. Sometimes just like having cooking something and it's okay, and then you put the right sauce on it, and then it tastes really good. So, like leftovers too. You kind of help it out a little bit when you heat it up and add something to it. And I think of this in the similar kind of way. When you and a lot of sometimes some of the iconic sounds that I've made, I didn't think okay, I'm going to make an iconic sound today. What I thought more of is today I get to work on a really good song. And if it's a really good song, then I do less. And then because the sounds are complementary sounds, that you don't want to interfere with the singer. And the better the singer, you just even you stay out of the way of the melody. So when you go back and listen to some of these sounds, they're not like the sounds of some of these synthesizers that have multi-timbral capability, and you play it and then all these sounds come in, and then there's no place to put that. There's no space for the sound. Like you guys mix your stuff too, right? It all has to work together. So a lot of the great synthesizer sounds are kind of simple sounds because these instruments didn't make multi-timbral, really complex sounds. So work with what you have, whatever it might be, and think of different sauces. And sometimes the sauce is the way you play it. Sometimes the sauce is the way you trigger it. That's helpful. You might lock it, and then you have like the timing, because timing of a sound is just as important as the quality of the sound, like a good joke or a bad joke. If the timing's not there, you got to get rid of the microphone, right, and get out of there. So I can't stress it enough. And if I'm saying things that sound really simple to you, good, because that means it's easy to remember. And if you go into a situation with a lot of things that are easy to remember, and you actually use a couple of them, you'll go really far. So, and there's another chance for questions, anybody, because I can just keep talking about whatever I want to talk about.
Sounds that keep surprising you? Are there any patch or sounds that keep surprising you?
Oh yeah. I'm always surprised by sounds. I mean, what am I surprised by there's no one thing that I'm surprised by the most. I'm thinking about this. You know what I'm surprised by is here's what it is. I watch YouTube videos, and this is what I would suggest to do. Like, if you have an instrument that you like, that you use, and you're good on it, watch a YouTube video of somebody else doing it, and I always learn something from somebody. They're doing something different on it, and that surprises me because I'm surprised that I didn't, after, how long have I been working on this thing? It's going to be like almost 50 years that I've had, since I got a 2600 in 1976. So, and I know, I'm still surprised though. And it's still fun. And I learn from other people. Like, I was watching you, because even if you did something, I didn't know it did that. Because I would never think of, I haven't turned all the faders up in every possible combination. I've never done that before. I think that's a really good question. I'm surprised by unexpected things that happen by exploring. If you don't explore, nothing unexpected is going to happen, because really nothing is going to happen. Any other questions?
When you're recording, at what point are you including effects? Are you sometimes recording directly with an effect because it's part of the sound, or are you always leave it to the end, like for the mix?
Great question. I love effects, and I work with them. I have lots and lots of guitar pedals, and I usually I have pedal boards. I have like 7 or 8 pedal boards that I've designed because I like the flow of them, but I always usually end up with like 1 or 2 working. But your question is, when do I put the effect in there? I put the effect right from the beginning, but I keep it like one side dry and the other side effect, so I can send the engineer both. And because the effects I'm making, I can't change. Most of the time I don't want, but we could rebalance the straight and the other one. But also, if we want to improve it, like, I'll say, go ahead, improve it. And then it's, whatever, whoever wins. So I like the option to actually just do it all. And I do it right away because it helps me, like, do less again. I'm not killing myself, because, like, a sine wave that's short going through reverb sounds awesome. You don't need to do something crazy. So then I'm done earlier, and it works better. So it's a really great question. Using effects earlier in the chain for me means I don't have to go as crazy, and I can hear what it's going to sound like. Like a lot of times I like working with the end in mind, and that's what that is. Like composing a song, or like, well, what's it for? If you know what you're writing for, if it's for a film or if it's for a song, then who's the artist? Because they're not going to like it if the range is too crazy. You have to know what the end in mind, and this is another example of knowing. With the end in mind, you get there a lot quicker. Like driving your car, well, shouldn't the first question be, where am I going? That's why effects are important to me right from the beginning. Because how many times maybe you've had this experience, you guys, where you make a sound and then you put the effect on and it's like just too big. And then you're like pulling your sound back down again. So this way you're working with what it's going to be. So, another question? I got about another 2 questions left in my voice.
Have you ever used the Synthesizer Cookbook series? What do you think of those, if you've heard them?
I don't know the series. Does anyone else know the Synthesizer Cookbook series?
But it has like a bunch of different ways to get different types of sound based on like the timbre, different instruments like horns or strings.
Oh, okay. Well, I can say this. I had a tape recorder when I was a kid, and I first got this thing, and it was a cassette, and I would put it into this mixer. And so this is a hugely important thing. And I copied every instrument, like violin. I went to an LA Phil concert, LA Philharmonic, and I got each person to record for me. I was a little kid, and they didn't know I'd be sampling them one day. And I would just record them playing some lines, and then I would make the sound and play the exact lick that they were playing. So there was no confusing, like, how close could I get? So emulating is really important for learning. And emulating, like A-B emulating, you know, and then and knowing what you can't do is just as important. You know, and then you'll find out the things you can do that instrument can't do because it's a synthesizer. And then you're like discovering where all these breakpoints are, where you can meet it, where you could surpass it, and where you fail at it. And then what you have to do to fill in. So I like that question a lot. I don't know about that cookbook, but I think you guys should write your own cookbooks. And the cookbooks are based on, well, what sound do you like? Maybe you don't want to emulate a bassoon. Like, who wants to do that? So emulate what do you like, but put it in the same system, like in the synthesizer, and then it goes through the same, you know, whatever your speakers are, and then you emulate it if you have an album or a sound you like, and you'll see if you're getting it. Maybe you'll say, well, I like mine better now because I don't know what I did, and then go back and figure out what you did, and then again, back to what I said earlier, practice it so you can recreate that so it's not some memory. Any other questions? My voice, I just dropped another minor second. My voice. And any other questions? Pitch it up. It can't do that. Well, your box can, right? Or not yet either. Thank you all so much. You're really engaging, every one of you. I remember your faces. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Enjoy the show and spread this word about like everybody coming together again after the COVID period. Oh yeah, if anybody wants to win this baby, you fill out these cards. So they're right here. Should they come up and fill them out? They're right there.
Yeah. Right? If you have a business card already, it's here. So,
yeah, or a business card. That'll work. Beautiful. Be safe.